time to review the scherzo movement of the Archduke Trio. It's the lack of resistance that makes it possible to turn your hand over to go to different positions. And occasionally, the only reason you miss is because you don't define clearly either the sensation or what it looks like. It's so easy to do when you look at it or angle your hand just right, favoring the thumb slightly. It makes a lot of sense to remind myself to play fourth finger. I'm in measure 27, so I can go 4, 3, 2, 1. For my hand, again, I've mentioned this before, I could go 3, 4, 5. But so long as the hand is showing a real comfort, I would rather go to where my hand feels its best, barring an extreme of tempo. So for me, it's a little bit more comfortable to do that. 2, 5, black, white, 1, 5, white, white, 1, 4, white, black, then 3, 4, 5, or 4, 5, 4 would work. Depending on where I'm coming from, the 2 is already there. Single notes. I have circled previously that my tendency to do that, anybody would, is not borne out by the score. So the circle simply says, note this. Decided on a hand redivision so that the left hand can take the notes that it's already over and reduce any kind of hysteria. I noticed in rehearsal I didn't have that fully incorporated into my system, so the ease that I'm feeling was not present. It's because it wasn't ingrained. It wasn't something that I trust, but rather something newly imposed. And that's in large measure what practice is about. You, by making those pathways clearer, more dependable, more automatic, you build a trust. So you change your attitude, make your attitude adjustment during practice. And as necessary, I might need. Okay, I'll skip. Obviously, when your time is limited, you can't always run through everything, nor should you. You need to look for where the attention is needed. I have some very bizarre fingers written. 5, 2, 4, 1. Actually, that very bizarre fingering works. It's just written in a very bizarre fashion. So, for some reason, I always respond best to the little lines that separate certain notes from one another and group them with others. So when I put my little line in that measure where I'm going to shift to fifth finger on the left hand, make my line here, I can immediately identify with the hand the change in grouping. So, and then go here, and then go life is good. Okay. Oops. Skip. Here's another skip aided by, let's see, 105, 6, 7, 8. Skip aided by a division. Makes a huge difference. Left instead of right. Left. Same twice. So. The verbalization of my instruction is often very, very useful. If I hear myself saying it, ultimately I can hear it internally. And in lessons, I'll often do the verbalizing and then have my student do the verbalizing. It doesn't matter where the source is, just hearing that instruction is often all that it takes. Okay, we're on to the trio of the scherzo. Rehearsal, I discovered that this really is hard to make work unless the tempo is flowing and the line is very line. This long and sinewy and chromatic line, and it needs to have a sense of identity, partly aided by a sense of direction. Get my third finger on D flat so I can get up to E flat. It's not something that I would concern myself with if I ended up on a thumb on E flat. It's one minute little thing that adds a little bit to comfort and dependability. So why not? For a similar reason, reminding myself to get to the thumb on G after G flat. Available in this case. And then I'm shifting, I'm going to add a line, shifting my hand position. Shift. Shift. And the grouping then becomes, this is all under that hand. And even though the right hand keeps on going, the left hand makes a significant commitment to a different place. So that's where I'll let my right hand accompany my left hand. My left hand needs the leadership because it needs to do something significantly different. And then, of course, these are isolated from everything else because they're at the end of they're beginning a different position on the keyboard. And I noticed that while I was taking this all in on the score, I specifically found myself looking at my left hand part, playing the right hand off field, because when I looked at the right hand it was distracting. So all of that, I'm looking at the left hand part. Left, and I look to the right hand for the lead. So. Oops. I need a very specific position for each one of those inversions to not smudge the notes. So by looking, at least initially, I make those angle differences obvious to me. well. I'm going to skip ahead. Can't be helped right now. Just to avoid arbitrariness, I'm going 187. 2, 1, 1, 5, obvious for the arpeggio. Excuse me, octave, then 3, 2, 1, 3, 2. So that's the next part up. And I go to 1 in my right hand. Little adjustments. Oblique motion is very interesting because when you're used to both hands moving at the same time, as in this case, the right hand moves, the left hand stays. Sometimes it needs a reminding. A reminder helps to say, oh, B7. And then I need an ideal fingering for this. So. I go to 1, 4, and I think all is well. And if I don't remind myself, sometimes that kind of thing will happen. You know, I leapt from a black note area to a white note area, and came right toward my body. It's much harder to grip that, and I know how much nicer it feels and how much more accurate it is when I come back to what I call Memphis. Federal Express style. Grabbing it, 3 feels a little better, so I think that's where I'm going to go. Even though I have to then reuse my thumb. Requires me to swivel my left hand quite a lot to favor the thumb, or to let go a little early. Jump to 223. Or let's go just a moment before that. After the double bar here to the 5 flats. 4 to 5, and then 1, and then 2 on the D flat, and then 1 and 4, enables me to open up to the octave easily. Nice. It's one of those things, not that hard to read, not that hard to execute, but it's jumpy. So if I don't know it, if I haven't internalized the whole gesture in the trio setting, I won't be ready. I'll miss this or I'll miss something. It's just unpredictable enough that I have to make it predictable. And adding fingerings where necessary, like 1-3 here in advance, gets me ready. Going to this octave, it's not right under the hand, but if I remind myself the B flat is right above the A, even if I'm doing 1-2, a recognition of where it is means I can swivel my hand toward the thumb on the lower B flat. Series of very odd gestures, but the fluency comes from associating them with one another. You know, it's like what the dancers would call a combination. So it's a combination of little mini events that result in something that feels reasonable. Feels a little odd in my left hand. Not hard, just odd, because I'm using the end of my hand, my fifth finger side, so much. Fingering looks good. The other thing I have to remind myself here, conceptually, because there's so much slitheriness, is what am I doing? If I'm in E flat minor, for example, that explains the C flat here. Then I'm in B flat. And then clarify. So, and what I'm doing, associating those with one another, shifting my hand position and my key awareness. And here again, static left hand, so I think right hand, then parallelism, continue the parallelism, although an incomplete one because the left hand is going up a half step and the right a whole step, so right hand, that's it. Think left hand, it's going to do this for a while. I'm going to shift. Okay. Deciding where both the thought process and the gesture changes. So here, rather than thinking it here, I think octave, octave, very easy suddenly. Now start. I don't know why I thought otherwise. Start here. This is at times made me nervous. Coming out of this F major and getting this to work. The fifth finger, I already wrote it down. This fifth finger, this shift of hand position here is really critical for me, so I've made it bolder. When I invoked it without clarity in the rehearsal, I didn't feel good about it. The moment I really told myself fifth finger, I felt much better, almost immediately. No, immediately. Fifth, fourth, and then three on this last turn. So I've got to get out of going 1, 4, 1, 2, 5. So 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 1, or 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1 would set up this hand position. 1, 3, 1 would be easier to get to initially, and then make the 4 position more unique. Do I know the answer? No, my body knows the answer. 2. Thank you, body. Except my score slipped. And that can happen. It's hard for me to read my writing often. Yes. Stick with. And then it's 4-3, not, I think. 4-3. Yes, 4-3, because I'm getting myself in F7th fingering position. 5, 4, 4. There it is. So. May have to do with what feels best for my right hand to go along with it. No. Now, it's not that strange. Even though turning to 3, it takes me a little further. Whoops. 3, 5, 2. The net result is that my hand feels more comfortable. I don't have to commit so much to moving way into the key nor twisting my hand. So my hand can be a little more passive and in turn go along with the right hand lots more easily. Again, it's a fingering I haven't used before, and I should have. It always made me a little ill at ease to get to the thumb. So, and I remind myself, here's where my thinking goes now. Left hand. Fifth finger. Piano, so that's really almost good. Is that enough? 1, 2. There's an extra one. Okay, we're going to skip to the end of the to the coda to see what's going on. What could be simpler yet? Take my own advice and don't worry about all all these white note octaves. The fact that they're not fast doesn't make it possible for them to, doesn't make it impossible for them to booby trap my best intentions, so I have to be careful. If I commit too much inward, I might get stuck, so I can either go out, in, or stay way out and move in. It's my awareness of my left hand that makes this work.